Are you a busy mom that is mentally and physically exhausted, and you dream of days where you will feel strong and vibrant and confident and energized? Keep listening for how you can do this in just 1 minute a day. Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Sarah, family physician, wife, mom of 5, and exercise enthusiast. So we are here today, baby wearing. We're about 4 months postpartum. This little peanut is 4 months at the time of this recording, and walking on the treadmill, getting the movement in, all the things. So before I get into today's video, I just wanted to say I am so glad you're here and welcome back to my YouTube channel if you have already been here before. I am so excited to share my passion for getting moms, families moving in a way that feels simple and doable, and be able to see all of the physical and mental health wins that I have seen in myself and my family, in some of my clients, and in my patients. So definitely subscribe here so you never miss a video. We talk about mindset, we have demo videos, lots and lots of things to get your hands on and get into. So definitely subscribe and ring the bell. So how did I go from being mentally and physically exhausted to having a consistent movement practice where I have been doing something intentional every day for, I think it's close to like 800 days now. So I was a competitive athlete growing up, and when I got into med school, got married, and started having kids, I found myself in a very much all or none thinking type of situation. And so I was used to workouts being, 45 minutes at a minimum, often longer than that, very vigorous, very sweaty, often, multiple different activities, all of these things. And when I got to the phase of life where I had other responsibilities, I found that definition of working out or exercising, movement, whatever you want to call it, I could never meet it. And so, or I shouldn't say never, but I could rarely meet it. And so I only chose to move if I could meet it. And then every other day I was doing nothing. And on those days that I did, in quotation marks, nothing, I really beat myself up about not moving in the way that I wanted to be moving and all of that. And so I found myself one day in a room with a patient saying something that I had literally said hundreds of times before to patients, because one of my goals as a physician is to really meet patients where they are. So of course, we know the guidelines, we know what is evidence-based, we know what works based on research. But to get a patient to follow a plan that you think is what they need, they have to buy into it. And so if you're not meeting them where they are, then it becomes very challenging to get their buy-in. And so, the guidelines say that you should be working on 30 minutes of exercise 5 times a week. Well, I had many, many patients that said, "Doc, I'm never going to be able to do that. I just can't get there. I'm struggling with finding 10 minutes. And so I had built into many conversations with many patients, asking them if they could find 1 minute a day to move, because I thought it would be really difficult to say no to that. It's okay, 30 minutes is tricky, maybe even 10 minutes is tricky, but 1 minute, everybody can find 1 minute. And so I always ask patients this, and I saw people starting to do that and then choosing to do more by themselves without me even asking them to increase it. And so I had been doing this for months to years while I was at home beating myself up for not exercising for 45 minutes a day and then choosing to do nothing. And so there was one day where I was saying it, and I literally had this moment of, why am I not listening to this advice? And so that was when I started just finding 1 minute a day. And this is when I was pretty newly postpartum with my first baby. And that's what I started with. And I started counting it. And when I started thinking about movement in that way of, walking the dogs absolutely counts as exercise. Walking up and down walking up and down the stairs, if you have them, a few times in your house absolutely counts. You don't have to be wearing certain clothing for it to count. So I think, that was just sort of my story for how I got started again into this streak of days and days and days. And what I have seen over the years of continuing with consistent movement is these massive wins, both physical and mental health, that I never ever thought was possible with doing just a few minutes a day. So the main point of this video is how do you do this? How do you get going, get consistent to be able to feel energized, feel confident, feel strong? So the first thing, which is what I've been talking about, is making the goals achievable, which I know that a lot of times when you read about goal setting, talk about goal setting with other people, a lot of times there is this talk of stretch goals. Like you should be setting goals that are a stretch. Maybe you're not sure if you can achieve them. I think this is an arena where if you have a history of being a competitive athlete and you've been inactive for a while, or maybe you're somebody that never really moved with any consistency in the past and you want to get started with it, or you're just, like I said, that busy mom that wants to see these things and you just don't know how to get there. I think keeping the goal achievable to a point where you know that you will be able to do it is how to get started. It's the gateway, because sometimes when the goal is a stretch goal, especially when it comes to something like this, I think it can be a barrier. It can be a barrier to getting started when the goal is too big. And so this is why I have told many patients, and why I would recommend starting with 1 minute a day. So I literally mean 1 minute. So you get out of bed in the morning and you march in place for 1 minute. You're on maternity leave, you've been cleared for activity by your doctor, you're ready to start moving in a more intentional way that's past like super gentle stuff. Maybe the baby's napping and you do 1 minute of some deep core abs, or you do 1 minute of walking up and down the stairs in your house. It doesn't necessarily matter exactly what it is. Obviously you want to talk with your physician about what is appropriate for you and your body, especially if you're brand new to moving, but it doesn't matter what it is. It's just showing up for the 1 minute, because the more days in a row you do that, the more you begin to identify as a person that moves. And people who move are strong, are confident, and you will start to see over time how that happens. How, okay, like I'm showing up, I am feeling more energized, I have more patience with the kids, I am excited to get outside with them. Like all of these things start to happen. And then you can progress and layer in maybe some higher levels of movement. Maybe it's more vigorous or more intense, or maybe it's a different activity, or, whatever it is, you lengthen the amount of time, any of those things. And so when I called it a gateway, that's literally what I mean, because over time I have seen, like I said, in myself, in patients and clients, when you're doing the minute a day, then it becomes, well, I'm already here, I'm doing it, like maybe I could do 2, maybe I could do 5. And you start exploring and experimenting, which is where things start to really explode. I think the other piece is eliminating barriers as much as you can. And so this may require a tiny bit of thinking on your part in terms of Like, what are the things that are getting in the way of moving? So the achievable goal thing is one. So making the goal 1 minute achievable, like you got it, that's one piece. Another piece, which may sound funny, but I'm going to say it, and I'm putting it out here because I thought this was just me. But I've talked to clients, I've talked to other women especially about this, and clothing, shoes, sneakers, sports bra, exercise clothing are not requirements to get moving. Now, obviously, if you're going out running, you need to be properly dressed, have, the proper equipment, like shoes, obviously. I mean, I guess unless you're a barefoot runner, which you got it, you go do that if that's for you. But I think it doesn't have to be that exercise equals exercise clothing. It can be, I wake up in my pajamas, I literally roll out of bed onto the floor and do my 1 minute stretch, 5 minutes of abs, marching in place. Whatever you're choosing to do that day, it can be that simple. And that act of showing up and doing it will create confidence, which will lead to consistency and wins. And so the consistency will come because you're seeing, oh my gosh, like I'm doing this, I'm getting more confident, and then you want to keep going. So I think, those are my thoughts on all of this. And you might be watching this and thinking, you said you were a competitive athlete, you're a physician, you're clearly type A, which all of those things are accurate. I want to draw one parallel here for me that shows that the showing up in small amounts builds confidence, which is in my making of these videos, of my videos on Instagram and YouTube. I'm sorry, this is YouTube, on Instagram and Facebook. Because prior to the first video I ever posted, which was a little bit over a year ago, I was nowhere on social media. Nothing was public. I didn't even have an Instagram. I watched YouTube, but I had never posted a video. And I made the decision that I wanted to get out here and share my passion for movement because I've seen it change my life and so many other people's lives that I have been able to help. And so I thought, I want to get out here and talk about this. This is the way to do it. And so even though I literally had to Google how to engage, like how to like a Facebook post and make a comment, I started making these videos. And I started posting them, and I made a decision that I was going to do one every single day. And I started with doing reels, and YouTube shorts, so basically like 1 minute a day. And I showed up every day, and I kept doing it. And what I learned is doing that built my confidence. And so now it still is scary, of course, to whip out my phone and make a video. I'm doing it because I want to help you guys with moving. And also because I have found that it just builds your confidence the more you show up and do it. And it doesn't have to be, in the exercise example, it doesn't have to be 30 minutes, 45 minutes a day, and you will see the wins. So, if you are somebody that is feeling inspired, you are looking for those things, vibrancy, energy, strength, confidence, but you're wondering, how do I do it? How do I get going? Definitely subscribe here for more. Ring the bell so you never miss a video. If this is bringing you value, drop a like. Please share with a friend, share with a family member. I love all of it. What if in a minute a day, imagine you're taking time for yourself and you're able to transform from that person, maybe that busy mom, that hustling, just surviving, holding on to survive to the end of the day. And you could go from that to thriving every day, to loving your journey, loving the day-to-day, to feeling confident and strong and inspired and energized in just minutes a day with movement. Movement is the way, guys. All right. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.